Hello and welcome to NB Drives. My name is Nishmanya and today you're joining me for a very different kind of video. Now I've been in Hyderabad for the last few weeks shooting cars out here and I haven't really had the opportunity to explore much around this area. So today I'm heading off to do my first major road trip around this place, and that is going to be to a place called Warangal. It's not a very long road trip, it's only about about 150 odd kilometers, maybe 160. And what's got me more excited, however, is my car for the weekend. It is, well, I'm almost at it, so might as well show it to you guys. There we go. There is my ride for the weekend. It is a BMW XM and I am so excited to be driving this car. There's such few of these in India, so it's quite a privilege to be able to have this for as long as I do. And there you go, you can check out its boot space on offer. It's quite decent. And there goes my bag. And as we say, we're off to the races. Come, follow me along. I'll show you how to start up the XM. And also, I'm going to keep in mind these have soft close doors. So when I shut it, I shouldn't just slam it. Inside, all you have to do is hit the start button and it fires up to life. Technically, it does not fire up to life. Being a hybrid, it starts off in EV mode. And as you can see right now, I have about 3/4 charge left on the battery. It'll keep getting regen, and because plug-in hybrid, so I don't have a charger to plug it in for a full charge. But here we go. It's so quiet. You can also go into the setup menu and change the drivetrain setting from comfort to sport or sport plus, and the car will start up with the V8 engine. Take a listen. Since I didn't start my journey too early to Warangal and left only around 9:30, I did inevitably end up running into a little bit of traffic while getting out of Hyderabad. This paired with some of the narrower roads that I had to maneuver through meant that I had to get adjusted to the dimensions of this large XM very quickly. And luckily it wasn't too hard to adapt, with the steering being nice and light at low speeds and the visibility out being pretty good for such an exotic SUV. Though we should remember that at the end of the day, this is still a luxury SUV from BMW and this should be expected. So I've just gone through one of those experiences that a lot of people face with Google Maps, especially in cities that they don't know, cities and towns. And I had to hustle this huge XM through some really tight and sketchy roads. I honestly don't know how I made it through some of those. I think I have a few clips here and there showing just the kind of conditions. But I think the most tense ones, I was just too focused on trying to get the car out to react to. Surprisingly, however, the XM has coped really well. It's been easy enough to handle in place. My only issue with it has been its turning radius. I know it's got rear wheel steer, but it just does not seem to have a good enough turning radius to make U-turns, especially on the tighter roads. So that's been an interesting learning. Another thing that I've liked is the hybrid system. It's actually worked pretty well. It's been pretty seamless in kicking in and out. Most of the time it's been in electric only right now because we weren't going fast enough for the petrol engine to kick in. But it's been fairly easy to use around town, and that is something coming from an SUV of this size. Now that we're on the highway, I definitely want to try out some of the driving settings of this car. Right now it's been in comfort and fairly sedate, so I want to wake it up a little. I will hit the setup button, and on the screen now I'm gonna make a few changes. Put the engine into Sports Plus, get the chassis into sports, steering into sports, and brakes into sports. Now let's see how it works. Oh yeah. Right away the engine wakes up, the transmission wakes up. That exhaust, oof, it sounds great. And just as we were picking up some pace, it seems like there's some roadworks. Here we go again. Drop down a few gears. Woof. You get up to the highway speed limit so quick. And there's just so much more this car has to give. Honestly, on our highways, it's doing a really good job. It's handling the road undulations fairly well, and it also, the steering in its sporty setting is fairly weighty. I like how it feels. Gives you plenty of confidence for the longer sweeping corners that we have. There we go. Speed limit. Don't want to be breaking that. Oh wow. There's also some sound being pumped in from the speakers. I am aware of that, but on the whole it still sounds great. Honestly, while I found the hybrid system to work well in the city, especially at low speeds, it transferred between hybrid drive and the petrol powertrain fairly well. When you're driving a little more, let's say, aggressively, then the switch between hybrid drive and petrol is a little on the harsh side, and you can definitely feel when the petrol powertrain kicks in. So it's best to leave everything in sportier settings and let the petrol engine do what it does best and give you ample of power out on the highway. And look at the greenery all around. It's a good day to be doing a road trip. Roughly 3.5 hours and 150 kilometers later, we reached the historic Thousand Pillar Temple in Warangal. While this temple is primarily dedicated to Lord Shiva, the Lord Vishnu and Lord Surya are also worshipped at this temple. This temple was built back in 1163 AD by King Rudradeva of the Kakatiyan kingdom. As I reached the temple relatively late in the afternoon, around 3 pm, it wasn't extremely crowded, and what this meant was we could get a quick and seamless darshan of the Shiva statue in the main temple complex. I also got some time to really take in how intricately carved these stone pillars and ceilings were. You can see how much work went into them, and it would have taken ages to complete it. I can't even comprehend the amount of skill required to do it, especially given that it was so long ago. You can see just how fine some of the work was, that you can actually put a thread through the carvings in these pillars. The main temple consisted of 500 of the 1000 pillars, and they were dotted all around the temple. There was also a beautifully carved statue of the Nandi right outside the temple. The Nandi is Lord Shiva's sacred bull, and this statue was carved from a single piece of stone, which made it all the more impressive. Behind the Nandi is the next section of the temple, which consists of the other 500 pillars. However, this area is under renovation and it is largely used for weddings nowadays. Do note that a large portion of the Thousand Pillar Temple was destroyed by the Tughlaq dynasty. However, the 7th Nizam of Hyderabad did end up putting a fair amount of money towards restoring the temple and getting it back to its former glory back in the mid-1800s. This is the room that we have. Limited hotel options, but looks fairly clean and quite nice. Assume there are more light switches. And that is the view out of Warangal. Good. Alright guys, I have just reached Warangal. Actually, I reached Warangal a little while ago. I've just checked into the hotel. This is the Suprabha hotel, which is supposed to be one of the best in Warangal. And me being the paranoid self that I am, I went and parked the car up myself. Here's a picture of it snugly parked away in a corner. And there isn't a whole lot else I have planned between filming and taking a slight detour on the exit of Hyderabad, getting stuck in some of those tight city roads, and the temple visit that I just did. There isn't a whole lot else planned. It's about 3:45. I'm gonna go have lunch now and just go through the footage once, start editing maybe. I'm going to be starting early tomorrow because I'm going to the Warangal Fort, which is supposed to be very nice, and hopefully if I get there early enough, I'll get it a little quiet and a little more tranquil, I think the way it should be seen. And I've also heard about a really nice lake close by. I'm hoping if I have the time, I will go hit it. Otherwise, I will head straight back to Hyderabad. But so far, the journey has been amazing. I feel like the car performed as well as I could hope. Alright, you join me the next morning. It's about 7:30 and we're back in the car now. I'm headed off to the Warangal Fort, so I will catch you there. So I've reached the Warangal Fort and we reached quite a bit earlier than it opens. But these are the ruins of the Warangal Fort, and as you can see, they've preserved it fairly well. They've made a nice park around it. I will try and get some footage of the park itself. And here's a quick summary of the park. Warangal was the capital city in this region during the Kakatiyan dynasty's time, and hence the fort was built here as their primary stronghold. The fort was built back in the 12th century, however what remains today is largely in ruins, though what has stood the test of time are the 4 large ornamental gates, which are known as the Kakatiya Kala Thoranam, that served as the entrance to the now ruined Shiva temple. This area has been designated as an archaeological zone. Not far from here is another structure called the Kush Mahal, which was built by the Delhi Sultans back in the 14th century when they had captured the fort. As the archaeological zone was shut itself for visit because it was that early in the morning, we headed off to the Bhadrakali Lake, which is one of the larger lakes in the Warangal region, and it is situated very centrally in the city. The government is doing a lot to develop the lake, with large promenades being built right around it for people to be able to go up and take in the views. And they're also doing their bit to make it as biodiverse a lake as possible. The lake itself is a man-made lake, and it was made again by a member of the Kakatiyan dynasty. After taking in the scenery from the tranquil lake a little while longer and grabbing a quick bite, I decided to hit the road in order to avoid the traffic getting back into Hyderabad, and that meant getting onto these nicely laid out highway sections, which allowed me to stretch the legs of the XM once again. The clear weather and relatively empty roads made the highway stretch a breeze to go through. Hey guys, I've just returned from the road trip. I've just parked up outside my house, and wow, it's been a long day. It's about 4 o'clock now, 4:15, and the last bit of traffic coming in was a little hectic, like it was on the way out. This is much better this time. We didn't take any narrow streets this time.
But overall, the experience has been great. The XM has been phenomenal as a road tripping car. I had so much fun with it. I really was a little worried about whether this would be easy enough to drive on a long road trip. I was so concerned about its size and the value proposition as well. But it just handled the entire trip like a champ, and I really, really enjoyed myself. So, and more than just the driving, I was actually very pleased with Warangal as a place as well. The Thousand Pillar Temple was beautiful, and I'm so glad we got to do the uh, visitation. And even the fort this morning, it was very serene reaching there early in the morning. So that was fun. And unfortunately, we couldn't go inside because the fort was still closed. But the lake that we ended up going to reached there in time and luckily found a spot to film around. That was actually very pretty. So, all in all, I think I had a great time, and for a 1 day trip, it was amazing. And this was a great car to do it in. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this new travelogue style video. And there's definitely more content coming like this. I have another few trips planned, so hopefully I can get those done soon and share it with you guys. So until next time, cheers.